Hi, I'm Nick and this is the TbT channel. Welcome to today's video. Now, this video is on FAQs. First question, what's an FAQ? A frequently asked question. Now, if you go through all the videos that we've got, you'll find the answers to these questions, but that's going to take you hours. So I thought I'd do a frequently asked questions video to post on the website, put on YouTube, and for you to watch, that will cover, it's Monday morning. It will cover just about every question that I've received over the weekend. So this is what this video is about. I'm hoping that you'll find it useful. If the other FAQs come along, frequently asked questions, I will do a supplemental video to this. So this is FAQ 1. Now, I'm prepared for this one. You'll be pleased to hear. I've written down a list of all the questions I'm going to be answering. I may answer other things as I'm going because I haven't worked out that far ahead. But in this video, I will answer. Why am I wearing glasses? Varifocals. I'm struggling. I may take them off halfway through. General questions. What's a TbT kit and what does it do? Will my power go up or down? Do I need to cut the spring? Will a short stroke reduce power? Do you make a TbT kit for? ? Can I buy just the guides? I want 11.9 foot-pounds. Can you fit the kit for me? And when will I get my kit? Now, they're general ones. Technical questions. What tools do I need? How long will the... That should have been in the top one. How long will the kit... No. How long will it take? I know what I meant by that. How long will fitting the kit take? Then problems. Troubleshooting. My gun won't cock. Where do I use the grease or bum slide? Where do the power washers go? How do I remove a trapped top hat? Which I forgot to write in. Top hat. My power has dropped. My power drops with each shot, and I have broken / lost a piece of my kit. So they're the questions in this FAQ video. I will try and do them in that order. So if there's a specific question you want the answer to, you can skip through and hopefully weed it out and save yourself time. But listening to them all may help you. So first of all, what is a TbT kit and what does it do? This is a TbT kit, okay? What it is a replacement rear guide, spring and top hat for your gun. Now, depending on the gun, you may just have a rear guide and a spring. There may well be no top hat, especially if it's a Viroc. What you also get in a standard maxi kit is a small pouch of grease and some washers. So what happens is, if you have, for example, an HW97, who doesn't have an HW97? All you have inside of your gun is a spring with a rear guide like that. The front of it's inside of the piston, and when you fire it, the front of the spring goes like that inside the piston, and that's what makes that twanging noise. That is what we're going to get rid of with a TbT kit. Instead of the spring being constricted by the outside of the piston, we put a top hat on the front here with the correct size hole through the bore to fit onto the latch rod. So now, instead of being controlled by the width of the inside of the piston, it is controlled by the latch rod. It runs off the latch rod, which means it keeps it central, allows it to spin, and most importantly, keeps the spring away from the sides of the piston, which means it gets rid of all that twanging noise that we associate with some air rifles. On top of that, you get a slip washer here, which goes at the front for it to spin on, and power washers to adjust the power if necessary. That's it. That's what a TbT kit is, and that's what it does. I think I've answered that one. Next, will my power go up or drop? Probably. It probably will. It's every time you take your spring rifle apart, there's a good chance, even if you put it back together with exactly the same components, the power will change slightly. That is just the nature of, should have worn sunglasses, the nature of a spring rifle. If you buy a UK powered kit, it is intended to run at under 12 foot-pounds. If you buy an export powered kit, it is intended to run at export power over 12 foot-pounds. So the question of will it go up or down, the answer is probably, but by how much depends on where you're starting from, what power limit you're at currently, and what power limit you are trying to achieve. But on the whole, UK sub 12, export 12 plus. Will a short stroke reduce power? I get this one a lot because there's all kinds of things on the internet. So, oh, if it's a short stroke, it will reduce power. No, is the simple answer. If you're after short stroking it, you're after using it for 12 foot-pounds or below. That's the whole point of a short stroke. So this is a short stroke for an HW80, for example. An HW80 is designed to run at 20 foot-pounds. If you want to run it at 12 foot-pounds, the piston has to travel slowly. But by putting an extension on the front of the piston doesn't travel as far and it pushes less air. So it is bringing the power potential down, but what you're actually doing is making it more optimal for sub 12 foot-pounds. So if you want to run your gun at 20 foot-pounds, then fitting a short stroke is going to reduce your power. But if you're wanting to run it at 12 foot-pounds, any of the short strokes we do will still allow you to run it at full UK power. There, I hope that's as clear as mud. I do all these things. If you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you will find an individual video on just about every topic I've got here, okay, which will go into much more depth, especially with the short stroking. But that's just a, will it reduce power? Not necessarily. Not to the point where it matters in the UK, let's say that. Do I need to cut the spring? Probably not. As I've mentioned before, the UK power kits are designed for under 12. The export kits are designed for over 12. Some people like to buy the export kit and then reduce the spring to power rather than buy a shorter spring and maybe have to add preload to achieve power. So if you choose to do it that way, then that's fine. For example, with an HW77, one of the early ones with the 25mm piston, or a Mark 1 or Mark 2 TX200, I actually recommend you get the export power spring because they're already effectively short stroked. You've got less movement of the piston, less air coming out. So start with a stronger spring and reduce it to power. You will get a better result than a short spring bulked up to power. But on the whole, majority of cases, it is unlikely you will ever need to cut the spring. Do you make a TbT kit for ... question mark? I have a video on this. I'm going to put a link below. It shows you everything I need to know, but without that information, I can't tell you. But the basics of it are, I need 21.5mm, I think, or 20.5mm, one or the other. It's in the video, inside of the piston for our spring to fit. If it doesn't fit, we can't do it. Can I buy just the guides? Yes, you can. We don't list them as a separate item on the website anymore. And there is a reason for that. Since having our premium springs made, these are now recognised by lots and lots of people as being the best springs you can buy for an air rifle now. And you know, I mean, not just people who've bought them, customers. I'm talking about tuners in the UK as well, who are using these springs for their tunes with their guides and things like that. The problem is, it's ever so slightly different internally to a Virox spring. So if you buy a set of guides for your Virox spring, it'll be usually a little bit too big initially. It'll be too tight initially. So what you do is you use an M10 nut and bolt through the guide or through the top hat, put it into a cordless drill and just turn it down slightly with the supplied abrasive until you get a nice snug fit. But the problem we had doing that was a couple of weeks after people fitted the guides, they'd phone up and say, that's so good, I want to try one of your springs now. But because they'd adjusted the guides would no longer, they were too loose in our springs, which brought back the twang again. So they had to buy another complete set of guides again. So to get around this, I've taken them off the website. If you want to buy them, fine. Ring me, we'll have a chat, we can do it. But I just want everybody who does that to know that if you've had to adjust the guides to fit into your Virox spring, If you then want to upgrade to one of our premium springs, you will need to buy more guides. That's the reason they're not on the website. I want 11.9 foot-pounds. No, you don't. Absolutely you don't. That is utterly unnecessary. Power doesn't really matter with an air rifle. You're starting with so little anyway. It doesn't matter. Accuracy is the important part. Hitting the target is much more important than how hard you hit the target. As an example, you need 4 foot-pounds of energy on impact for a clean kill on a rabbit. Okay, a headshot on a rabbit, you need 4 foot-pounds. A 2.2 air rifle running at 10.5 foot-pounds still has enough energy at 80 yards for a clean kill on a rabbit. But you're never going to hit the rabbit in the head at 80 yards, not with a Springer. So the idea that extra foot-pound is going to give you more stopping power, more range, it doesn't work. It isn't that way. That isn't how the physics of it work. That extra foot-pound with a 177 at 50 meters gives you a 1/4 of an inch difference in point of impact. It is negligible. And almost every rifle, every Springer will run better with less recoil and just better at 10.5 foot-pounds than it does at 11.5 foot-pounds. So you don't need 11.9 foot-pounds. But that legal things aside, you know, any of that stuff aside, just the physics of the matter, it's not worth going that close to the limit for. It really isn't. Can you fit the kit for me? We get asked that a lot. The answer is yes, we can. We have our fitter, Andy, who also does excellent trigger work, by the way. If you send your rifle to him, he will fit the kit for you. He'll service, polish, clean, everything and do it for you. I would encourage you to do it yourself because regular maintenance of your spring rifle is required. And I think over a long period of time, you're going to save yourself an awful lot of money if you learn to do it yourself. But if you don't want to, and there are people who don't, I totally understand it, contact me, email me. I then tag Andy into the email. He'll contact you, send it to him. There's no hanging around for it. You send it to him. He'll give you a day to send it. He will do it and send it straight back. You will not be without your rifle for long. And I believe he's currently charging $69.95 plus the cost of the kit. And he can do your trigger for you. If you're going to do that, honestly, get him to do the trigger, pay the extra few quid and have him do the trigger, and consider sending him your trigger unit. Even if you don't want the gun done, consider sending him your trigger unit to get it done. It is on my custom guns, he does the triggers. They are good. When will I get my kit? The way our office in the UK works, the post is done first thing in the morning and is dropped at the post office at 9 o'clock. So if you order today is Monday, up until 5-6 o'clock tomorrow morning, it will be posted first class, signed for tomorrow morning. If you order it at 9 o'clock tomorrow, it will be posted first class, signed for Wednesday. Sometimes post is done on a Saturday, but not necessarily. We don't guarantee that. That's just if Ali and Chris, who run the UK office, if they are, they usually do, but I'm not going to say they always do, because they do it just because it's always busy over the week and they just do it to save work on Monday morning. So that's the general questions. I hope that's helped. Now we're going to come on to technical questions. What tools do I need? Now, not very many. In the case of most guns, you may need a spring compressor. If you subscribe and go through and look for your rifle in our page, on our page, you will find specific guides for your rifle. Almost certainly there are hundreds. And they will show you in great detail. Sometimes it's necessary for a spring compressor. Sometimes a spring compressor can just be a small G clamp, a solo clamp. Sometimes it needs to be a sash clamp. And my sash clamp, I have a piece of wood screwed onto it just to hold it level on the table. So it may be necessary. Check out the videos on the website first. Other than that, all you generally need are screwdrivers, punches, and a tappy hammer. In the case of an HW 95, 98, 57, 99 or 50, you will also need a small tool to push out the little squares, the little tiles at the back that hold everything in place. What I use for that is just a small Allen key that I've cut off the short end to make it shorter, that I use to lever them out. I forgot to bring it over to the table when I started the video, sorry about that. But that is all. But check out the specific video for your rifle, watch it all the way through. You'll find the videos that I do are in real time, not edited, unless I've had to go away and have a cup of tea or something. In real time, so there's none of this jerking from one thing to the next and it's cutting it out, making it look really quick. The time you watch on there is the time it takes. How long will it take? Well, that comes on to how long will it take. Generally, what I say to people is half an hour, including a tea break. The more time you spend at this stage, though, the better the gun's going to run for years to come. So some people will polish the ends of the spring, they'll polish the piston, they'll do all kinds of deburring, degalling inside of that. So if you set aside an afternoon, I mean, some guns as well, you may need to adjust the power, take it up a bit, take it down a bit, experiment until you find the right place. If you take an afternoon to do it, you can enjoy the experience. And for me, it's about enjoying the experience. Gun maintenance, gun tuning, and it is tuning, by the way. If it comes out shooting better than when you started, it's tuned. Same as a guitar. If it sounds better after you've tuned it than before, it's tuned. It should be a pleasurable experience. You should enjoy it, you should learn from it, and it should help you appreciate what your gun's doing. My gun won't cock. We get this one. Sometimes we get this one. There can be a number of reasons. With some guns, the piston can be slightly different from gun to gun, and we're finding that with HW99s at the moment. So what you need to do, first of all, is pop your slip washer into the piston, then your top hat, and then your rear guide. And what should happen is that the rear guide sits on the skirt of the piston. If it's raised above the skirt of the piston, that means it won't cock because the plastic is meeting before the latch rod reaches the trigger. That could be because there's weights or washers already inside of the piston that need to be removed. In the case of the HW99, it could be that yours is a couple of millimeters shorter than mine, because when I had these made for the HW99, I made them to measure for my rifle. About 20% of the rifles have a slightly different length plug in the end of the piston, the plug that goes in to make the front of the piston, in about 20%. Now, the spring that we supply with the HW99 is the 31 coil, which is the most that will fit in the gun. If you contact me beforehand, we can send out the 29 coil spring instead, which means A, you won't need to cut it, B, there won't be any chance of it doing this, and it's going to give you still about 11 foot-pounds in tow too. So it can be the guides meeting. Other things to check, if you have a TX200 in particular, make sure that you made plastic in like that and it's sticking out by that much. You'll think, well, what the heck's that about? Don't cut the guide in that case. Your top hat is still stuck inside of the piston. This happens more often than you'd think, and because it's a closed face piston, i.e. there's no slot in the side to look inside of it, you don't necessarily notice it. You pull out the spring, put it to one side, put it all together. It's really difficult to cock and then it won't cock. What the hell's going on? Check inside for a top hat. And the third option is the spring is physically too long. As in the HW99, it gets coil bound. The coils meet before the trigger latches. It is unlikely to happen in anything except an HW99 because there's that small variation with 20% of them, or an HW35 because the HW35 has been made since the Bible was written and it has had different length pistons over time. So go and find the HW35 videos and I will show you how to measure and adjust for each and every single design that's been out over the years. The final one on the gun won't cock if you have a TX200 is it gets onto the final bear trap, but it just won't cock. It needs what we call the TX tug. That final little humph just to get it to cock, and it only needs that 2 or 3 times and then it's fine. Don't know why we call it the TX tug. It happens with many of them. Which then brings me on to, I'm going to skip forward 2 here and go straight to the stuck top hat in a TX200 or anything else with a closed face piston, which happened with Rob this morning. Rob, this is why I'm making this video today, because you asked me and I thought, you know what, it's such a useful thing to tell people. So your piston is here, let's say. It's invisible so that you can see through the sides. Your top hat is stuck down in the middle. Because it's closed, you can't pull it up with a screwdriver, but it's inside of there. When you put your spring on and off of it, it's not gripping it enough to pull it out, usually because there's grease underneath it, creates a vacuum, and it's tricky. How do you get it out? The first thing to try is take a piece of paper like this. You fold your piece of paper like that, okay, into a little I shape or a lowercase l, and then you fold your piece of paper into a U shape or possibly a V shape. I think that's more a V shape there, isn't it? And then you simply hook that over the spring like that, and then you push that down into the piston and force it onto the top hat. Now it won't go onto that top hat because this top hat's the right size for the spring, but you force it, see if I can get it on a little bit, onto there, and because you've got the extra restriction of that paper, it grips on. Then you slowly turn it and pull it out as you're turning, and it pulls the top hat with it. That gets 80%, 90% of stuck top hats out. If that doesn't work, we have to go to the nuclear option, which is you get your piston, you remove the piston seal, you remove the front bearing so there's nothing meltable there, and then you heat up the front of the piston. A gas torch is the best tool for the job. You can do it over a gas hob, but you're not trying to get it red hot. All you're doing is turning it constantly, heating it up, because the latch rod that runs through the center is threaded in, okay, and it's held in place with thread lock, and the thread lock breaks down with heat. So we're not after getting it red hot, we're just after heating it until you will see a small puff of smoke just out the front of the piston as the thread lock lets go, and then you can simply unscrew the latch rod, and then either the top hat's going to come out on the latch rod, or you poke it through with a small screwdriver from the front to the back. Then all you have to do is put it back together again, remembering to use a piece or a bit of thread lock on the threads. That's stuck top hats, which I skipped forward for. Where do I use the grease / bum slide? If you go back and search for the videos for your rifle, the 2 or 3 parts I've done for most rifles, you'll see me using the grease and using the bum slide, showing you where it goes. But basically, a pea-sized amount goes onto the spring, a small amount goes onto the outside of the guides and inside of these tubes to lubricate it on the latch rod. If you have bum slide in your kit, or if your kit included bum slide, some do, or if you bought it as the optional extra, use bum slide inside of the tubes and outside of the tubes, and bum slide on any metal to metal face. If you didn't buy the bum slide, it's the same places, but you just use that in its place all over. There we go. But as I say, look for the specific videos for your rifle and you will see it in greater detail, because I'll actually lubricate the gun and reassemble it. Where do the power washers go? There, power washers. First of all, we don't fit them to start with. We leave those out until we've tested the power. Each one of those will give us approximately, on average, ½ foot-pounds. They are intended in most cases for guns where you've bought a spring that's oversized and you've had to reduce the spring to get it legal, but you take slightly too much off, so you use these to bring it up. If you put these in initially, there's a chance you will make the gun coil bound, which means it won't cock. Should have mentioned that in gun won't cock. If you fitted the preload washers, take them off. But if you do need to fit the preload washers, they go on the rear guide between the flange and the spring. Okay, that's where they sit. You can, theoretically, you can put them on the top hat at the other end of the gun, but the problem with doing that, stay there, and watch out because they roll away, we'll get onto that. You can put them there, but that's reducing the amount of control that the top hat then has on the spring. So it is better at the back. I'll pick that up again in a minute if I need it. My power has dropped. Okay, if your power has dropped, it can be one of a few things. First of all, you need to take the gun apart and have a look to see if anything has broken. How much has it dropped by? What pellets are you using? Have you changed pellets? All of these things can have an effect. But the main culprits are, if it's when a kit has been put back together, yeah, I was just seeing if I had this as a separate thing. If you've put the gun back together and at the same time you've fitted a new piston seal, 90% of the time the reason for the power dropping is the new piston seal. A new piston seal creates friction. If when you push the piston into the compression tube you have to use pressure to push it down the bottom, that friction is what is sapping your power, and it will come back with time. Some piston seals are worse than others, generally aftermarket seals, with the exception of Brit seals. Actually, people are saying that they don't need sizing, but the majority of aftermarket piston seals need sizing, which is why I normally recommend either getting the genuine part or a Brit seal, because they don't need it. But some of them, honestly, my power's dropped 3 foot-pound. Change it back to the original seal, oh, it's up to 11 again now. You know, it is that much. You might not think it, but when you push the piston into the compression tube, if you've got excessive friction there, that's what is robbing your power. My power drops with each shot. Now, this one is a thing. This one is not as F-aid, a Q, as the others, but it is aid F enough. If you're doing a shot string over your chrono and you start off here, the next one's here, the next one's here, the next one's here, and so on, and then you walk away for 15 minutes and you start again, and it starts here to here to here to here to here, it is a very simple problem with a very simple solution. Your piston seal is too dry. It needs molybdenum around the lip of there to lubricate it, but you don't want any on the face of it. If you watch the videos on your specific gun, you'll see me brushing it on in that direction so as to lubricate all around the seal, but not to get any on the face. And what's happening with that power drop in consecutive shots, when you compress this, this is your air rifle, your spring air rifle is a diesel engine. It is compressing the air very, very quickly to a very, very high pressure. And at the front of that stroke, at its highest compression, it reaches 450 degrees C or more inside of the compression tube. Only for an instant, but it does it. And what happens is the heat build-up goes into the seal expands, and we come back to friction. An expanded seal gives more friction against the sides and it slows down the piston. So with each consecutive shot, it's warmer and it's pushing harder against the sides. But if you leave it for 15 minutes, it all cools down. And when you come back, it starts from where it was originally. If that happens, more lube around the edges, put it back together, that problem will have gone. And finally, I have broken / lost a piece of my kit. This happens. Since moving over to our F1 kits, secret ingredients, touch wood, it's been over a year now, and I think I can probably count on the fingers of one hand how many parts are broken out of 20,000 kits. But it can happen. It can happen. Usually when it does happen, a gun's been dry fired, where you don't put a pellet in, then fire the gun. There's no cushion of air for the piston. It slams into the end, everything bounces around and bits can break, including springs. But if you do break a part or you lose it, I've had puppies steal parts. I've had fellas I'm not laughing at you if you're one of the ones this has happened to, because I'm the worst for it. They'll get it all out the kit and they'll get a top hat and they're walking around looking for a screwdriver or something. They'll come back to the table, they've got their screwdriver. Where did I leave the top hat? It happens. Like, yeah, I'm not judging. I'm not judging. All of our kits have a lifetime warranty, okay? If you bought it from me, fitted it in your gun, if you lose a piece, if you break a piece, contact me, I'll send you another one. This excludes springs. Okay, now our premium springs are the best springs you can get. That is not from me, that's from other people are saying that. But it is a consumer part. Over time, it will reduce in efficiency, it will reduce in power and need replacing. But these, people say, well, how long will a plastic guide last? I've been going for over 11 years now. I've got customers still, I'm still using some of my original kits. Many thousands of shots through them. These, in proper use, won't break unless something goes drastically wrong. They don't wear out. A spring might. So if you lose, break, throw away, get abducted by aliens, any of the plastic parts in the kit, just contact me. We will get another in the post to you free of charge. And that's it. That's what this video was for. As I say, this is frequently asked questions 1. There may be more, I don't know, depends if more questions come out. But thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, hit notifications, check out all the other videos. I'll put some more links down below. Thank you for watching, goodbye.